The Walt Disney Company said that they're spending $60 billion to turbocharge the parks, and that half of that is going towards maintenance and technology. A new report out of Mice Chat, however, shows just how degraded the parks are, specifically Disneyland. Let's talk about the photos, and they're not great. Here on That Park Place. Hello, I'm Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is the man that I go to for putting his finger on the pulse of theme parks, specifically the southwest corner of the United States there. Vash, what in the world's going on at Disneyland?
Not good. Outside of protests, maybe an incoming D23 presentation. There's a lot of, I guess, pressures on the Disneyland Resort right now. And, oh boy, it only gets worse when you actually get inside the park. Let's go ahead and take it over to Mice Chat and also show you exactly what I'm talking about. Because, man, it is a doozy right here. This was from their Monday update they usually put out, covering the weekend's events and, the week prior's events, obviously. And this was from Mice Chat staff. Disneyland update, breakdown blues, empty queues, and still fine at 69. That's not a bad headline right there. Pretty good.
Yeah.
But deeply embedded in the article right here, this is where it gets particularly troublesome. So you can see this fountain right here at Downtown Disney. Looks pretty good until you actually get up close to it. And you can see just a myriad of missing tiles, myriad of broken pieces on this fountain. Now, one of three of these fountains at Downtown Disney is scheduled to be removed. We're thinking it's this one because it's in the proximity of maybe a new restaurant facility taking over Tortilla Joe's, but we have yet to see that. To have this on stage or a part of the show, not good, no matter how you slice it. Now, we talked about on previous shows about light poles and speaker poles falling. In terms of that light pole, actually fell on a guest, which was very troublesome.
Yeah, just to clearly state it for those of you who are not aware of the incident, it was not just a light pole, but a lighting stanchion, one that is meant to hold up to 6 spotlights. So not just something holding up a generic lighting rig, but one that is meant to hold up show lighting. So actually something that's pretty heavy. It hit a woman in her 80s that was visiting Disneyland that day. We haven't had any reports since then, so I'm hoping that woman is fully recovered. The next one was a speaker system that was used for parades, and that fell over and bent or busted the metal rail there. So thankfully, that didn't strike anyone, especially not a child, at Disneyland there. But this picture, however, is probably what remains of a more standard lighting rig.
Right. So what they did after that second incident is they actually started to go over pretty much every single stanchion, pole, everything that could potentially fall within guests' proximity, especially. And they started removing them. Now, this actually goes back to a Mice Chat update on April 15th. So it's been a couple of months since this process had occurred. You can kind of see some of the intricate lighting fixtures that they've had in the past here that they have subsequently removed, and now you just you get these plywood boxes in various places and so forth. Again, that was back in April. Well, Mice Chat goes on to say that this has still been this way ever since that April update. These lighting fixtures have not come back, and yet you have these green boxes all over the place in which these light fixtures should be. So obviously that's not great show, and there was a lot of intricate design work and stuff connected with some of those light fixtures. Those haven't obviously returned. Now, this is where it gets particularly troublesome because this is one of the most photographed places in the world. This is right in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland. You can see this kind of compass groundwork here that's very iconic for this park. You can see if you get close up, it's taken a lot of abuse as of late, and there just haven't been the funds allocated towards doing anything about it. You can see here cracks in multiple places. If we go even further, it extends not just to the ground, but also to some of the surfaces that guests are within proximity to. So you can see this bench right here, big old crack right there. Just looks not good, but maybe those blend in. This one does not, however. This is a brick surrounded in duct tape. It gets even worse, folks. The Disneyland Railroad, an
Really?
iconic attraction. Oh yes, oh yes. Yeah, right here we have holes in the top canopy right there, rusted out support beams. Jonas, it keeps going and going and going of just these very unsettling examples of a lack of maintenance and care for this resort that has been profitable. I mean, it's not
Oh
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
doesn't.
This is just to point this out while we're looking at this, and
Sure.
we didn't put this together. We are covering it because it's worth covering. When we talk about the financials of this company right now, the American parks are what basically subsidizes the entire company, and there's a lot of investment going overseas for the other theme parks to bring them up to where they need to be. And of course, Disneyland Paris is an excellent example. They just announced that they're going to be refitting that entire park over there for Disney Studios Park, or whatever it was called, is now going to be Disney Adventure Park or Disney Adventure World, or who cares what it is. It's a genericized title that they could put anything into it over there. There's also the fact that a lot of these profits are going to different segments of the company in order to keep the entire company afloat. Meanwhile, they can't spare a nickel to keep these parks looking pristine, as they should, as the point of pride for Walt himself when he made this, is he didn't want it to be a cheap and dirty attraction. This is very sad to me.
It is. And by the way, these are light bulbs, folks, and these aren't twinkle lights on this canopy. They're all supposed to be illuminated at the same time. And you can just see it's not only the antithesis of what you described, dirty, that's dirty right there, but we can't even spare some light bulbs on some of these roofs. Main Street, I know, has a myriad of light bulbs and so forth that are in great shape right now. Well, here's a good one as well. Empty stages. How long have we talked about how the Hyperion is closed with no show in it? This stage right here has no show on it. That was Club Pixar, by the way. The Golden Horseshoe. This was an original location where Walt Disney spent his 30th wedding anniversary with Lillian back in the day. This was an iconic location that he had much fondness for, completely dead with no entertainment whatsoever to speak of. I mean, this is just appalling just to see this amazing resort. Like you said, Jonas, this is an iconic resort that has contributed greatly to the economics of the entire company, and yet we're just leaving it behind in this horrible fashion that is unbecoming of any Disney park. Unbecoming to some. Cedar Fair, well, now Six Flags parks, but especially Disney. And for the amount that they are selling this park for, this is $100 to get in at minimum. I think it tops out at like what, $189 on the weekends and the very busiest parts of the year. This is no way to show one of your flagship domestic locations.
Yeah, I would. This is so frustrating to me because they're obviously talking about Disneyland Forward and how much they're going to invest here, and that doesn't seem to be geared towards fixing the parks themselves. There's this rumor that was floated during the Nelson Peltz proxy fight that, oh well, they have enough land that they could build 6 lands based on 100 IPs, and don't worry, it's going to be an IP that you've already seen them build a land on, because if you go by the handful they've already mentioned. Or talking about building a 5th gate in the Walt Disney World Resort over there in Orlando, or maybe even talking about building a 3rd gate out there in Disneyland Forward, which I don't think that's a legitimate rumor, but that is one of the many things that has been suggested there. I think they should fix their parks. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say they should fix their parks. They should spend the money to make this into the premium experience that they would trade on being here, because right now Epic Universe is right around the corner. It's going to be a cutting edge theme park. I've gone through Islands of Adventure, and I think in the 25 years or whatever it's been since that one opened up, I think we were all waiting for that supposed drop when they stopped putting money into the physical plant there to try to keep everything up and running. That one's still going fantastic. I think that was the last theme park we had open in the United States from Disney or Universal. And that one's still going, still doing fine, doing gangbusters. They're putting in all these improvements. And Disneyland can't spare a couple of nickels to replace a mailbox that is rusted out from the side.
Think about it too. Think about the amount of money that the company spends on stuff like Captain America, Brave New World, for example. What is it? Almost $400 million in that production. We know that Snow White has been reshot multiple times, and we can only assume what the production budget for that movie is going to be at the end of the day. Also, too, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, we're spending a considerable amount. We'll have more coverage on that Park Place, folks. So definitely subscribe for that for sure. But think about all those products that really nobody wanted, nobody asked for, and who knows whether they'll make the money back at all. If you were to apply those budgets, how many light bulbs could we have gotten? How many mailboxes? Could we have replaced the rusted out mailbox on Buena Vista Street there? How many coats of paint could we have applied towards the parks right now? This was what I was trying to say in a video that we had posted on that pod place. Wasting money affects the parks. Wasting money has its consequences, and you're seeing that right there. And it shouldn't be on display in front of guests.
Right, I would agree with you, and just to put a really fine point on it, the Acolyte, which did not move the needle as far as Disney Plus subscriptions, I'm just going to say that $180 million. That's probably not the final amount. That's just what the closest, most accurate figure that we have right now. We'll know in a few days. It should be a few days before we know what that actually cost. But $180 million is supposedly enough to get you a pretty big change at the parks. More on that in another video. Can you even imagine if they just put that towards beautifying? If they sent somebody with $200 million budget to just go and fix all of these things, just light bulbs, just fixing things here and there, painting stuff. If they're going in the evening, which that legend of Imagineers and maintenance workers going over everything every night after the park has closed down in the wee hours, that they had this nighttime staff that would go through everything, the scuba divers that would go through the 20,000 Leagues attraction and make sure everything was perfect. If it ever happened, it's definitely not happening now. And I think that's what's really sad about this. I don't like that we have a channel that is focused on Disney. And if we're telling the truth about Disney, this is the kind of thing that ends up coming to the top. I don't care about the Country Bear Jamboree animatronic smoking. That's one that all of us at that Park Place know exactly what's going on there. Maybe we can post a joke about it every now and then, but the smoke coming out of that animatronic is a gag that is malfunctioning. That's not an animatronic catching on fire. We know that that's not the problem. This is the problem that we want Disney to fix. They're ruining their parks. They're letting them degrade. It's almost as if another company has come in that only cares about ESPN and ABC News and is leaving these parks to just degrade because they don't care, because they think that no one will ever call them out on it. Vash, do you have anything to say before we throw this to comments?
I just really do hope that the company reevaluates and takes a look at these things, because this is how it starts. We talked about the lamppost, falling over and affecting guests, maybe permanently. We don't actually know the status of that guest and her condition. We do know that somebody was transported to the hospital after that event. That's for sure. But these things, they start with the light bulbs. They start with the paint. They start with all these things. But as we remembered from the Paul Pressler era, particularly with the Disneyland Resort, these things have much greater consequences down the line if you keep deferring maintenance for longer than necessary.
If you keep deferring maintenance until someone gets hurt. With that being said, we want to throw this to our commenters here. Have you been to Disney? Are you seeing pictures like this? Are you posting them online? Because I will say, if enough noise comes out about this, maybe they're not going to change the DAS system back, but maybe this is something that they will finally, if they're tired of dealing with it, will actually fix the parks and fix all the busted things in their parks. I'm going to say Mice Chat is not an outlet that I expect to go in and say, we hate Disney. We're not an outlet to go in and say, we hate Disney. We would like Disney to do better. That being said, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like this video if you found it helpful or informative, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.